Welcome back to Power and Politics. Conservative leadership candidates will get their first look at the interim list of eligible voters next hour. The party says more than 600,000 Canadians are signed up to vote for the next Conservative leader. Teams will have a set period of time then to mount challenges before the final list is set. The Power panel is back with me to talk about that. Emily, James, Brad, and Elliot. James, I'll start with you. This sort of, I think, to a broader audience might be like, why are you talking about a list? What's so big about a list? But for the campaign itself, this is a big deal. This is when we find out exactly how many sort of quote unquote valid memberships there are, if it is well over 600,000, and then the teams themselves will be able to parse through them, challenge them, and I think maybe also get an indication of where things stand. What are your thoughts on the significance of it?
All of that, and up until now, or up until the cutoff, the effort has been a public appeal to get people to join the Conservative Party. Now it's an internal appeal amongst those who are on the list to get down ballot, second and third ballot support for your leadership campaign. But the number that is enormously impressive, probably the largest political party in Canadian history, and these are all paid members. It's not like the Liberals, frankly, in the Justin Trudeau's leadership cycle, where memberships were effectively free, where you became a supporter of the party, not a member, which I think makes the number of over 600,000 even more impressive. But what I think in time will be even more impressive is that there are 338 ridings in the country now. It's going to go, I think, just north of 340 ridings across the country in the next election campaign. Nomination seasons haven't started. So once you have a leader in place, then you're going to have 2, 3, 4, up to 10 people contesting nominations in stronger conservative ridings across the country. We could add a couple 100,000 more members to the party beyond that. This is starting to feel like a lot of momentum, a lot of a wave for change for the next election campaign. And I think it's good news for the Conservative Party broadly as the party continues to move forward and seems to be gaining strength in the polls, seems to be gaining strength and confidence in terms of its caucus and the unification that seems to be happening around Pierre Poilievre's leadership.
How are you interpreting those numbers, Emily?
I am seeing, just like James, a wave of support. But I'm not seeing much in terms of the numbers because we don't have them yet, in the sense that we don't have the numbers by candidate, and that's, I think, what all candidates will be looking to see. Everybody's been pitching numbers in terms of how many people they've been recruiting during the first part of the campaign, but the reality is we don't know. And of course, everybody's going to be looking at if there's the numbers from the other candidates were blown out of proportion. Everybody's going to be calling out everybody else on this, and it's also going to help once we have a clear idea of those. It's going to really help. The candidates themselves, but also the public understand where everybody stands in the race, who actually has a chance. We might see people, dropping out a little bit early. So, and as well have a sense of strategy that's more based on, that ranked ballot and making sure that if you're not people's number one, then you're people's number two. So the whole strategy of the campaign is going to shift. I expect we're going to see less events that are public facing and more, one-on-one calls, and just try to make sure that everybody is reached by each campaign, and that the votes are in order for everybody who wants to win.
Brad, from the campaign's perspective, I mean, my colleague Hannah Thibodeau spoke to Patrick Brown, I think it was yesterday or the day before, who kind of indicated, I'm going to take a look at the numbers and then I'll decide. Like, what are various campaigns from your perspective looking for when they finally get their hands on those numbers?
Well, everyone but Poilievre is wondering if this will go to a second ballot. And if it's going to a second ballot, then whose support that I don't have just yet is available, and who should I be courting in the second and potentially subsequent ballots. If it's one ballot, it's all over. So it really depends. How far ahead is Poilievre with the signups? Will there be a consolidation of the non-Poilievre vote? That is, Will Brown and Charest and those who represent a different kind of brand of conservatism in this country. Will they say, listen, we can't afford to go in there divided and maybe have some of our people and in subsequent ballots moved over to Poilievre? So will there be a consolidation of the candidacy in an attempt to wage a much more stronger support to stop Poilievre on the first ballot? Because I think that's what if I was in the Brown camp or the Charest camp, that's all I'm working on, is to ensure that there's life after the first ballot. Because if it's not, then it's all over, and then we're just really wasting a lot of time and money. Just to James's point quickly, He mentioned that, there's a lot of support. There's a wave going on within the Conservative movement, and these membership numbers are certainly a metric, an indicator of that. And certainly those numbers are, you have to be impressed as a practitioner with those numbers. Whether or not, though, those numbers at that level stay past the primary, past the Conservative leadership race, will be, I think, dependent upon the next leader bringing together the party's membership. Because you could join. Maybe you say, I'm going to support Mr. Charest because I like his red Toryism, and then Poilievre wins, and you say, well, I'm not going to support Poilievre. I wanted to, support Charest to stop Poilievre, and those people are not supporting Poilievre in the upcoming general election. So there's still work to be done afterwards. So these numbers will be the crest of what the Conservatives can kind of draw from, but certainly there's work to be done to hold all of these people who are now joining up for the party.
The size of the potential for that, though, will really, or the scope of it will really depend on, how many tens of thousands, let's say, or thousands of votes go to Charest, or memberships were signed up by Charest or Brown, right? Because we have Brown saying 150,000. We don't have any numbers from the Charest campaign, and 312,000, Elliot, from the Poilievre campaign.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the problem when you go last on this panel, because Brad steals all your points of everything you're going to say.
Well, he is a practitioner, as he called himself. Yes.
That's right. But no, I think Brad and James and Emily have sort of nailed this one. Look, this is a good sign for the Conservative Party, no doubt. The last time I think back to the similar type of feel was when Prime Minister Trudeau was running, and there was this great energy, and it signed up a number of supporters. And fair point to James saying that they didn't necessarily have to pay that time around, but it feels that type of energy is good. And again, to Brad's point, it's continuing that energy. The next election is a number of years away, and so can the Conservative Party come together around the next leader, keep that energy and momentum going, and those membership numbers continuing to be high? That is going to be the real trick. Does Pierre Poilievre, alienate some of those folks? We'll have to see, because that's going to be the real thing. Trudeau is able to do that. He was able to keep that enthusiasm in the party, keep it going into the general election, and that'll be one of the big challenges. I think for the opposition parties, for the Liberals and the NDP, they need to realize that this is a potential threat. This is real. There are a lot of people, there are hundreds of thousands of people who have signed up to support the Conservative Party in one way or another, and that is a sign that you need to take very seriously and begin understanding what that's going to mean for the next general election and start getting your act together for that.
James, you look like you were reacting a bit there. Do you have something to respond to that?
No, I was just going to say that it's true, unity and all that is true going forward. However, there are a lot of people, as I said, in the province of Ontario, half the public who could vote in the last provincial campaign didn't vote. So there are a lot of people who are looking at the Conservative leadership race, and they might actually really like Pierre Poilievre, but they might not be committed to joining a political party because they may not vote and they may not be sort of sophisticated in terms of how you get involved in politics. But if Pierre becomes the leader and they get energized by the fact that the party has now chosen him as leader, that might cause them to now join the party after the fact and sort of join the wave and get even more involved. So if the party membership is, say, at 620, then you've got 340 nominations across the country, which will bring in thousands of more members on top of that. It really starts to look like the Conservative Party has got real energy behind its effort to make the next election ballot question change versus more of the same under Pierre Poilievre's leadership. I
think, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I think at some point the party actually is in the midst of doing an analysis of how many sort of voters have actually had political activity before, or they have voting information on before, how many people have signed up rather. And so they will be able to kind of quantify how many new people signed up who aren't really politically active or have not been politically active in any capacity. I think those numbers will be really interesting as we go forward. Emily, I'll give you the last word in this segment.
Well, I'd just be really interested to see some sort of polling on a question like, if X is elected as a Conservative party leader, would you not be supporting the Conservative Party anymore? And have those numbers, because I agree that might be some people who are on the fence that are waiting to join if a certain candidate wins. But there's also even the candidates themselves, Patrick Brown saying he's not going to run as an MP if Pierre Poilievre wins. I don't see a future as well for Jean Charest inside the party if Pierre Poilievre win. And the other way around, there might be a lot of Poilievre supporters who don't want to stay on if either Brown or Jean Charest was to win. So I do see that there's going to be, I don't see how there would not actually be some party members withdrawing. But so having some numbers on that would be really, really interesting.
There is some polling out, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more over the summer. I want to thank all four of you for making the time for the discussion. Thank you to our power panel, Emily Nicolas, Brad Levine, James Moore, and Elliot Hughes. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.